America has been a prosperous country for over 200 years. And in that time, we have made leaps and bounds in the fields of science, mathematics, technology, and medicine, and we continue to evolve every single day. But in the day-to-day grind of our busy lives, it is questionable as to whether or not we have lost sight of some fundamentals. In lieu of foreign affairs, social economics, and a general strive for peaceful living, the important question is this: where do we, as proud Americans, stand in regards to education?
It sucks.
I believe that the education could be a lot better.
Well, America, to me, it's got crap for education. I mean, it's totally bogus.
It's garbage. The idea that Americans actually have to discuss whether or not the state of education is on par with the rest of the world speaks volumes in and of itself.
We are going downhill drastically, and personally, I believe it's in part to the things that they're teaching the kids, not as far as, you know, the subject matter, but rather than that every kid has some entitlement to either complete school or go to college, rather than them actually working hard.
I'm surprised, but at the same time I'm not, because we should be higher, but it doesn't seem like we're as high as that.
Well, it makes me feel like we're getting lazier and lazier. American culture is ridiculously lazy.
Doesn't shock me in the least bit. We have an entire nation of young people that are more dedicated to YOLO than learning about people like Geoffrey Chaucer or being number one on the global mathematics scale.
Because it is the future of our nation, and it's looking kind of bleak.
Obviously, I'm a college student. I plan on going to college for quite a while because school doesn't bug me. But I also do a lot of volunteer work at the elementary schools. For the past 9 years, I've actually volunteered my time throughout going to high school and everything else.
What do you
I was brought up in order to think that education mattered in order for you to go somewhere in life. Most people, you're always told if you don't get an education, you're just going to be flipping burgers for the rest of your life. Other people, that's not true. They cannot get an education and they can go make a lot of money based off of the opportunities and who they know. But not everyone is that lucky.
Well, me as a college student, it's important that the education system is working towards a goal to not only help the kids that are working, but to give them the best education they can. If basically nowadays, especially in college, if they're having to dumb down everything, that's not fair to someone like me or someone like you or someone who's going to college, that they're having to get at this lower education level because there's other kids there that shouldn't be there in the first place, and they're having to dumb down the system for them.
Well, college. Going to go for a nursing degree, so kind of need a big education for that one. A lot of science. I'm not too worried about that, but education, everybody needs to know basics. I mean, if you can't add 1 and 1 together, then how are you going to survive in the grocery store? You can't even figure anything out, basically. It's just not going to work out for your mental health, everything else.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't have the ability to finish my education. At the end of my junior year of high school, I was not necessarily forced, but I made the conscious decision to drop out. Not because I was unlearned or because I had difficulty, understanding school. Circumstances in my life forced me to drop out. It's important to me because, obviously I'm not an unintelligent person. I know what I'm talking about. And if it weren't for the steps taken previously, before I entered the public school system, to enhance that education, I wouldn't be the man that I am right now. Education is what defines us, not just as a human race, but as a country. I mean, if it weren't for modern education, for the idea of mathematics, of art, of literacy, being able to read and write, we'd still be, living in caves throwing crap at each other. Education is the foundation of society.
I can hope that it gets better, but it doesn't seem like it's going to, just because everything seems to be decreasing when you hear them talk, like I said earlier, the STEM programs, everything's decreasing.
I hope better, but I think we still have a ways to go before the government gets their ass in gear.
Of course. I might be wrong on the statistics, but last I checked, we're spending 3 times more on missile defense systems than we were on American kids. And until the country and the government realizes that all the bombs in the world can't protect us from mutually assured destruction, but more intelligent, better educated people who have the ability to sit down at a table and talk with one another before pressing the big red button, this country's doomed. Again.
It's hard to say on that. It all depends on the teachers themselves. There's no control on the education by the student's basis. I mean, yes, it's the student who does the work, but the teacher still has to teach the student what to do. If the teacher can't teach, there's no way the student's going to learn. Even though, yes, the parents do have an involvement as well. If they don't push their student to try and do their work and work towards their education, it's a double-edged sword. If one doesn't teach, one's not going to learn. Parents don't help the kid, they're not going to learn.
I think it depends. It depends if we get back on track with, we need to get back to the core values of hard work, and not only hard work, but just no longer this American pride and this feeling of entitlement that we deserve this stuff, we need this stuff, and that we shouldn't have to work to get it, that it should just be given to us, and that we're somehow, this needs to happen in our life rather than it's something that we have to work for.
Better educated teachers, and probably more either federal funding, state funding, something to get these teachers educated in their fields. If you don't have a teacher that teaches the subject they know, how are you going to do it?
I think it should start in the elementary system, because that is where you learn all your fundamentals. I look at the elementary system as if it is building a house. If you have a decent foundation, you're going to be able to build up on it without any issues. But if your foundation's a little bit messed up and it starts to crack, concepts are going to fall through and it's just not going to work.
I would say put the money in the hands of the teachers. And unfortunately, you have teachers out there who just don't give a shit anymore. Because they've been beaten down and eroded and just utterly destroyed by the bullshit and red tape that is the American education system, by parents who don't care, and in turn kids who don't care. And okay, fine, why should they care? They get a paycheck still. When the US government decides that the future of its people is better than the future of its own name, the education system will get better.
Again, I think we have to get back to, we have to actually show kids that they have to work for their grades. We have to not just dumb down everything in college to the lowest kid. If we do that, then we're going to have high schoolers reading at 3rd grade reading levels, and that can't happen when kids are graduating high school. Instead of us coming to them, they have to come to the goal of graduating high school, rather than just dumbing down until they can graduate. They need to work their way up to that goal of graduating high school at a 12th grade reading level, or at a pre-calculus level of math.
My favorite thing on the report card: needs improvement.